everyone, it's Reagan and Clay, and we're here for a very special video that was a year in the making, wasn't it, Clay?
It was, I think even more than a year.
Well, and what is it?
It's my wrap-up video.
Yay! Confetti! Clay has completed 6 books, and we're here to talk about them today, and then he can excitingly move on to his new TBR, isn't that right? So, without further ado, what are we gonna do?
We're gonna wrap up my books.
We're gonna wrap them up.
I'm gonna review them and wrap them up.
Wrap it up. So the very first series that Clay completed was the Darker Shades of Magic series. So I'm gonna pass this over to you, Clayton, and just go for it. What did you think? What are the books? How did you feel?
So, this series is the A Conjuring of Light series.
No.
It's a Darker Shade of Magic book series. And it's a 3-book series, starting with A Darker Shade of Magic, which each book progressively got better and better as it went on. So the first book, A Darker Shade of Magic,
I'll hold it for you.
3.5 stars. The second book, A Gathering of Shadows, 4 stars. And the third book, A Conjuring of Light, 4.5 out of 5 stars.
Wow, Clay. That was quite the progression of star rating. So what are your overall thoughts to the story? What is it about? How did you feel about it?
So basically, the story in the series is about several different worlds in which magic, there's varying levels of magic. So you have one world that's our world called Grey London, which has no magic. Then there is Red London, which has, it's flourishing, has a bunch of magic. And then there's White London, which has magic, but it's a dying off world. And there's technically a fourth London, which is called Black London, I believe, which is dead. The book follows a character who can jump from world to world. It's only a power a few people have, so they're very, very important because they're kind of messengers throughout the different worlds. The main character is from Red London, and he has a very important role because he's from probably the most powerful and most important London of them all. You go through the books, and each book kind of is different in the sense that the first one, you're discovering the world, and it's kind of an adventure-y kind of novel.
Smaller in scope, perhaps. Smaller
in scope. The second one is kind of like a seafaring, piratey feel to it.
Magical competition.
Magical competition as well. It's exciting. And the third one is kind of, it all comes to a head as you would expect a series, and it's much larger in scope.
What would you say outside of the one character you referenced? There were some other characters that are present in this series as well. So how would you describe and what would you say about those people?
One of my favorite kind of things outside of the magic in the world is the relationships between the characters. Kel being the main character, Lila being kind of the secondary main character, and then the third is the brother of Kel, who is Rye, and there's kind of like a lot of brotherly love. I'm a brother, really appreciated that.
I too have a brother.
And I mean, I'm really close with my brother anyways.
Sweet, you enjoyed it.
I always kind of like those type of interactions in books, movies, TV, anything like that. Reagan loved this series, and so I read the first one and was like, this is a pretty good book.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite at that level.
Yeah.
But as I got on, I liked it more and more. And probably if I went back and read the first one, having kind of fallen in love with the characters by the end,
you would like it more.
I would probably like it more.
It's like Avatar. Yeah, but I personally feel like this book series gets stronger. Like the first one is definitely by far the weakest book, and then it really begins to pick up book over book. So I'm really happy you overall liked it. Yeah. So would you recommend this series?
I would, and I really like V. Schwab's style of writing.
Yeah. She's really good at having like mini cliffhangers, I would say, at the end of each chapter. It really propels you through. You read these probably the fastest.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you were like very into this series by the second and the third book. So, these are the first 3 books Clay read. Moving on, we have a series I can't remember the name of, but the first one is Scythe and the second one is Thunderhead. So what are your ratings for these, Clay?
Man, I liked those a lot.
Yeah.
But I feel like you can't give a 5. 5 goes to like the greatest book on earth.
I give 5s all the time.
Yeah, well, we're different. First one, 4.6.
Wow.
Second one, 4.8.
Wow, big fan of these.
Really liked them. The series is about essentially people don't die anymore because it's just less magic and more technological.
I say dystopian utopian.
Yeah, it's like a dystopian utopian. Science has progressed so far, people don't die naturally anymore. But there's still a general need for death as, I guess, kind of...
Overpopulation?
Overpopulation, but they never really get into that. And I think part of it, which is kind of, read between the lines, is when you can't die anymore, what's the point of life? And so when there is at least still the minor fear of death, creates more actual, like, meaning in your life. Anyways.
So That was some deep thoughts, Clay.
So people can't die naturally anymore, and what's been created in the society is essentially these things called scythes, and they're people that are given the power to kill. So the first book follows the two characters who are in an apprenticeship to be a scythe, and it kind of follows the politics, what's going on, the philosophies in it. Different scythes choose to kill in different ways, and it's very, very complicated. This book is very, very dark. It's about people killing each other. It's dealing with very heavy concepts. You are basically going from one chapter to the next of people dying. It's very sad and very emotional, and it's very fast-paced. Each chapter kind of keeps you reading. I really like the writing style as well. I actually realized that I read a Neil Shusterman book when I was a kid called Full Tilt.
Yeah.
And I loved that book.
Yeah.
And it was I think it's a very popular book, so it's not that big of a coincidence, but really liked his writing styles.
How did you feel about the politics of the Scythe world?
Politics is really, really interesting.
Yeah.
The concept of basically there's a new order and an old order where the old order kind of thinks there should be more care given, and the new order sees themselves more as gods. I would say generally. Anyways, really interesting. The villains are scary. So the second book, it's hard to talk about the plot without giving any spoilers, so basically it develops beyond the second book in a sense that also kind of like the Conjuring of the Darker Shade of Magic books, it gets bigger in scope. You understand the world larger. It explores everything more. One thing about it is when Reagan got me to read the books, I thought it was a duology. So as I was approaching, and it's not, it's going to be
More.
three, maybe 4, 5, 6 books. Anyways, when I was getting near the end of Thunderhead, I was thinking, you really need to wrap this up.
He turned to me when he finished. He was like, "What the heck? It's not over." I was like, "Ha ha ha."
Really, really enjoyed the book. Liked the writing style.
We're gonna have to fight over the third one when it's released. Who's gonna be able to read it first?
Probably Reagan.
And yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed these. So let me remember correctly: 4.6 and 4.8.
No, I think I gave that a 4.8. This one got a 4.6.
Yeah, really good then.
Stuck the landing.
Stuck the landing. Very, very dark. Quickly adding my opinions, because I love this series a lot too, is one that I read recently. Neil Shusterman's ability to basically construct a world that is eerily similar to ours, but just maybe like a few steps further in a direction that is like tangible in a way that's scary. You know what I mean? He's able to be like, this could be our future and this could be what would happen, so think about it. And he just always kind of screws with you in that way. So I'm really happy you liked these.
Exactly, yeah. It could be a world that exists like that.
The final book Clay finished, and he just finished it a few days ago, drum roll, is The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak. Take it away, Clay.
The Book Thief. I really enjoyed it. 4 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
In terms of the plot, what the book's about, and everything, it would be a 5 out of 5 star book for me. It's a World War II historical fiction book, which when I was a heavy reader when I was younger, I was constantly reading books like these. And the book follows a young German girl getting adopted into a family in Munich, starting around 1938, and progresses through World War II. It's narrated by death, which is a very interesting perspective to have for World War II, which obviously there's a lot of death. It's one of the largest wars, if not the largest war ever fought on Earth. And the characters, as you have this young girl with her adopted family, the interactions between them are very sweet. She makes friends in her neighborhood, and you kind of go along as World War II progresses. A lot of foreshadowing and dramatic irony in the sense that you know where World War II ends, you know what's going to happen in a general sense to Germans and the world, and so you're kind of following this along, knowing where it's headed.
And also like the backdrop of all these characters are living their life in Germany.
Yes.
Given all of us knowing what's going on behind the scenes and in the background as well.
Yep. And one key thing is the characters are not Nazis. They're not Nazi sympathizers. I really liked the book, thought it was sweet, and thought it was, very sad in parts, and kind of you're seeing it from a kid's perspective mostly. I mean, Death's a narrator, but a lot of the stories through the eyes of the child. It's kind of sweet, and you know more than the kid does, and especially of where things are heading. So it's an interesting perspective to read. The reason why I knock a star off of it, and this is a personal preference, is I have trouble reading. The way Marcus Zuzak writes is it's not always clear what's going on, and you have to infer a lot and sometimes go back and read. And I sometimes feel I was missing details that was actually hampering my experience of the reading.
Okay.
In which I'm confused. Maybe I'm dumb.
Or maybe it's the writing style.
Maybe it's the writing style, but sometimes I was confused in parts, and I hate having to go back and read and not sure, and I hate the sense of, and maybe it's not even, maybe it's supposed to be confusing, but when you're confused and you're not sure if you're supposed to be confused, it's an experience of you're going, am I experiencing the book to its fullest ability?
Yeah.
And that affects my enjoyment.
Yeah.
Some people might think he's a great writer.
Yeah.
And
So
love
this just
that.
might just be like personal preference here, because like I personally find, I can see where you're coming from, because how he describes things can be kind of unique and sometimes bizarre. He kind of goes sometimes a long way around to like get to what he's trying to say, and I personally think it's really beautiful and really enticing, but I can also understand maybe why you wouldn't like that, and that's just a matter of personal preference. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
And also, part of it, in his defense,
Yeah.
I took a long time to read this book. I was just kind of busy over the last few months, so sometimes when he was referencing something, it could have been weeks since I last read the part that he's referencing.
Yeah.
But I can see why it's a classic, why people love this book. I mean, I really liked it too.
Would you recommend it?
I would recommend it.
Did you have a big emotional impact?
Yeah, Reagan really hyped up the end of the book to me.
I cried so much.
And it got me a little choked up, but sometimes when things get hyped up so much,
Yeah, I can understand.
that your expectations are already so high once you get to it, you're like, okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Really like the book, but of the 3 authors I read from, I'm not like dying to read another one of his books.
So that makes sense, and it just means more fantasy moving forward. Alrighty, so those are all of the books that Clay read over the past year. A more serious video from the two of us, not a lot of puns from Clay. He was very focused, he was like writing down things. He was like, okay, I gotta like be articulate. He was practicing before this video, so kudos to you. So we'll see you in another year with this next wrap up. And he's excited to read his other books. What book are you planning on reading next? What book are you currently?
The First 15 Lives of Harry August.
Very excited about that one. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you soon with another video soon. Bye!